Hello everyone, my name is Peter Karaoke and I'm so glad and excited to have you join us today. Something exciting is back. We're talking about Power Talks. Power Talks is a flagship monthly forum for leaders to engage, connect, be together as a family and sharpen each other. And so today is the first Power Talks of this year and we are so happy to bring it back. And I'm so excited about our speaker for today. 2020 was an extremely difficult year for so many people. 2021, we are halfway done. And one of the things that we have heard from many leaders is just the tiredness and the fatigue and just feeling, I'm taking care of everyone. Who's taking care of me as a leader? If you fall into that category, then our conversation today will be mind-blowing for you. And so I'm excited today to introduce an amazing lady, an author. She's the founder of an organization called Pitstop, and she's a change agent and a mental health champion. And so put your hands together as we welcome our speaker for today. Makofi kwa comment section as we welcome Kharay today. Thank you so much.
About a year ago, a friend of mine was traveling out of the country. And because he was limited for time, he decided to gather all his friends so that then, instead of meeting each person individually, he meets everyone in one setting. So that was the plan, and we all got together at Nairobi National Park. If you're familiar with the park, there is a limit where, or rather a designated area where cars are not allowed to go beyond that point. So we got there, got into our designated areas, and we were ready to go and have a good time. The car I had been assigned to was full of ladies. And as you can imagine, it was full of chatter, a lot of laughter. We were all excited. And then suddenly, the car went off. We sat there for 1 second, and then my friend said, actually, my car has this problem. She tried to start the car, but it wouldn't start. So we sat there and we were thinking, okay. So we figured, let's just take out our phones and call the others so that they come and rescue us. So we removed our phones, but to our shock and horror, there was no network. And suddenly, the words the wardens had spoken to us became a reality. They clearly told us, no matter what you do not leave your car until you get to the designated area. There are wild animals roaming and they are dangerous. So now a car that was full of activity became deadly quiet. Panic checked in, and all of a sudden you could hear people praying silently. We were in that state for about 2 minutes, which I promise you felt like a lifetime, before we had the Rangers car come. Our friends noticed we were not there and came looking for us. Doesn't that sound familiar to how our 2020 was? Beginning of a new decade. We were excited. We were ready. We had goals. We had KPIs. Maybe some of you are starting off with a new team. Maybe you got a new job. You are a leader in a new environment. You are excited and you knew this is a decade. This is a year. And then March 2020 happened. And our world, as we had known it, came to a screeching halt. Everything that was normal became abnormal. All of a sudden, offices that were beehives of activities now became silent corridors. Desks were abandoned. Streets that always had people, matatus and cars that were always parked, heading into CBD, Westlands, or wherever, now became silent. And this became our reality. We went through the first lockdown, then the second, and we're still experiencing a lockdown. But what we didn't realize is the impact of the lockdown on our mental health. There was stress. There was a lot of anxiety. There was panic. There was disillusionment. There was despondency. There was apathy. Sadly, especially in Kenya, we saw the cases of gender-based violence rising to an all-time high. Suddenly, people were locked up in homes out of their own volition, and there's nothing they could do about it. Slowly, we have seen a slow move. There's been adjustment going on, reemergence of what was once normal. People coming back to work, offices slowly opening up. But what we have now is what we are calling hybrid workplaces, where people are working at home as usual in shift system, and some days they go to the office. But what I'd like you to remember as a leader is this. We have hybrid working arrangements, but the people you're leading are not hybrid. So today, as we delve into mental health, I need you to think of it as a topic that is not taboo, a topic that shouldn't be discussed, but a topic that should be at the forefront of everyone's lips today. As we begin, I want to take us back to June 1st, 2019, when President Uhuru Kenyatta, in his Madaraka Day speech, declared mental health in Kenya a national epidemic. We had seen cases of suicide, depression, rising, substance abuse, and he put together a task force to begin addressing this. So as we begin, think of the headlines you've been seeing, what we've been seeing on social media. No more senseless deaths. It's time for us to speak about this, and more so as leaders. But before we even think of the team you're leading, I want you to focus on you. Let's begin unpacking. Are you okay mentally? What is mental health? That's where we'll start. According to World Health Organization, mental health is the successful performance of mental function, resulting in productive activities, fulfilling relationships with other people, and the ability to adapt to change and to cope with adversity. It is a state of well-being. If there is one thing this whole COVID season showed us, is that our ability to adapt to change was really challenged. Our relationships, some of them were greatly affected. Some became stronger and some fell apart. And then it says it's a state of well-being. But now that we know what mental health is, I want you to consider mental health as a spectrum. On the one end, you have you when you're completely well. And then on the other end is when you are unwell. And in between, you move from coping to struggling to stress. And then on the other side, you're healthy, you're thriving, and you're vibrant. But one thing to remember is that no person remains in one place forever. We all go through the spectrum. So when you're on the other end, when things are not working out, that's okay. There will be a time when you will be coping and you will thrive. The thing to watch out for is if you have remained on one end of the spectrum for too long. And I know you're thinking, being happy and thriving is not bad. It is. There's actually something known as toxic positivity. If you're always happy and things are always looking up for you and you never worry, you never slow down, there is something wrong. You may need to check that out. Now that we know what mental health is, can we think of what mental health is not? But before we even dive into that, remember the spectrum I just spoke about? Let's stop looking at the spectrum in extremes. As a leader, it's very dangerous for you to either think of yourself as a very good leader, adept, go-getter, achieving goals, and on the other side, lazy leader who does not meet your goals. That's not how mental health works. It's not a case of extremes. Neither is it the same for the people you're leading. It is a spectrum. So let's move away from extremes, from judging people and from boxing people. So now that you know what mental health is, what is mental health not? And I know that doesn't sound grammatically correct, but basically we are saying what mental health is not. Number one, mental health is nothing to be ashamed of. It is not shameful. Number two, mental health is not a curse. Number three, mental health is not something you switch on or switch off. No. So stop expecting that of people. If you see someone depressed today or having panic attacks, don't just expect them to switch it off or to get over it. No, they need help. It doesn't work like that. Next, mental health is not all in your mind. It's very easy for people to trivialize what it is you're going through and make you feel like it's all in your mind. It is not. Mental health, neither is mental health unproductive. Meaning, if you have a mental health condition, that does not mean you will not be productive. You can have an absolutely full day. If I had time, I would mention some successful people in the business industry that you know who live with mental health conditions. So that is not a case for it. Next, mental health does not mean that you will be slower, that you will not catch up with your peers. No. So please get that out of your mind. Now, when it comes to mental health, what causes mental health? There are 3 key things that cause mental health. The first one is genetic factors. Genetic factors simply means that it's already in your family. So you could be in a family where there is a high prevalence of depression, maybe bipolar, maybe attention deficit disorder, schizophrenia. Look out for these things. And why you're looking out for them is so that you're able to begin preparing and getting the help you need. Secondly, environmental factors. We all know about toxic work environments. Where you are, what you're taking in, what you're consuming, all that affects you. One thing I tell people is never be ashamed to exit certain groups, exit certain conversations, exit certain rooms for the sake of your mental sanity. You don't have to be in all places. If a place is toxic, if it's draining your energy, if it's causing you to slow down, if it's causing you not to operate optimally, be extremely sensitive and disengage from those spaces. Whatever is disempowering you, whatever is causing you to be discombobulated that you're not able to operate at your full potential, leave those environments. You don't need to do that. The last is neurochemical factors. And this basically means it could be a chemical imbalance in you. That's nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed of. That if you discover it, you can get treatment. And no, it doesn't mean that all cases you'll be on treatment for the rest of your life. No, some of the treatments can be treated without medication. So how do we cope? Once we know we have mental health conditions, there are 2 ways of coping. The first one is maladaptive. The second is adaptive. Maladaptive basically is a negative way. Adaptive is a positive way of coping with mental health. So maladaptive, the first way which you shouldn't do when coping with mental health conditions is avoidance. We've all seen that. You avoid the problem, you act like everything is okay, keep operating as you operate, and refuse to acknowledge that you yourself know you are not okay. Get the help you need. Don't be afraid. Don't avoid it, because help is needed and it is available. Secondly, withdrawal and isolation. We all know someone, and maybe you are the someone, who has withdrawn. You've become quiet. You've become recluse. You used to be the life of the party. You used to be the person people could come and brainstorm with. You used to be the leader who used to give direction. You used to know the plan, the strategy. And now you've become withdrawn. Yes, you say you prefer working alone. Yes, you say it's because we are at home and we don't have access to people. But deep down, you've withdrawn. The person you are, the life that you used to have, you've withdrawn and you've isolated. The next thing, oversleeping and undersleeping. We are now in a generation, a season, where people are working 24/7. We normally don't have cut-off times. Before you knew, work ended at 5, 6, and you had to get home. But now you're working at home. So it's your office has become the home, or has your home become the office? Everything is so intertwined that you don't have any balance. So what is happening? We are finding people glorifying insomnia. Oh, I'm able to get by 2 hours of sleep and I'm up and about and doing everything I need to do. Then some of you, you're a leader, but because of what happened, you're now having to look for other means of income. So you're doing so many things that undersleeping has become your new normal. That is not good. Every time you sleep, when you're told you need to sleep 7 hours or 8 hours, your mind renews and refreshes itself. So when you're denying your mind that, you're not operating optimally. It means there is something. Imagine a switch. Let me use an analogy, Imagine You know how long ago when people were going to work, you enter the bathroom and you leave your phone charging. You shower, you get ready, you come, you pick your phone and you dash out, only to get to the office and realize it's at 2%. What? You forgot to turn on the switch. That's how it is when you're not getting enough sleep. You think because that you're connected to the power source, you're okay, that you'll operate optimally. No. At some point, battery low. And if it's a computer, what does the sign say? Look for a power source or your computer will go into hibernation. A lot of us are operating on hibernation mode. As a leader, when you're leading your people and even yourself, there's a danger for us getting to a place where we are calling presenteeism. You're there physically, but you've checked out because you're so tired, you're just occupying space. This is extremely dangerous, first for you as a leader, because if you cannot acknowledge that you are experiencing presenteeism, you will not be able to see it in your employers. What will happen at the end? Your numbers at the end will be at a negative. You're not hitting your targets. What will that mean? As a leader, you get stressed, and then there will be transference. You will transfer that stress to your team. Your team will now be tempted to work longer hours because now there is fear, there is anxiety that they will lose their job. So it's having such a ripple effect on something that maybe originated from lack of sleep, lack of you prioritizing self-care. I hope this is sinking in, because it's never the big things. It's the small things we think don't matter, but they add up. The next thing, anger, irritability. You're so sensitive. People are always walking on eggshells around you. Don't say this. She will flare up. He will flare up. He will lose his temper. You will get a memo. You will get... No. Check that. Why are you getting angered easily? Why are you getting easily irritated? That's not normal. That should not be acceptable. Don't pride yourself and say, yeah, I don't like it when people are slow as a leader. I like people being chap and switched on. That's okay, but it cannot be at the expense of making the people around you uncomfortable and not be able to operate from a place of peace. The next thing, self-harm and suicide. Self-harm is when you start harming yourself. And there are some people who the only way they know how to deal with stress is they'll either cut themselves up or just indulge in substance abuse. And this can be alcohol, and another form of abuse can be social media. Yes, social media can be abusive, where what you're taking in is so toxic that it begins affecting the way you're thinking and the way you're operating. Suicide is experienced by both men and women. The only difference is that men tend to use non-reversible methods and women use reversible methods. So please pay attention to that suicide will creep up on you slowly. That it's one thing, you begin withdrawing, you isolate, you ghost. Before you know it, you've told yourself a narrative that now becomes your reality, and you convince yourself that no one cares, no one will miss you, and eventually you opt to take your life. Let's take suicide in all its seriousness. Let's not trivialize it. Let's take someone seriously when they say, I feel like taking my life. When they post something that is suicidal, reach out to them. Don't just ignore it, because more often than not, there were signs that we overlooked. Next, toxic positivity. If you're happy all the time, it could be a cover-up for the emotions that you're refusing to deal with. And maybe refusing is a hard word. Maybe you just don't know how to deal with them. So the easiest thing is for you to numb and move on. Act like you're okay so that people stop asking you. Because guess what? They're asking you, but they really don't care. So you're always happy so that you fool them that you're okay. I'm sure you've seen the WhatsApp the meme that was doing its rounds on WhatsApp. Check up on your strong friends because they need your help. They're not as strong as you think. So that's the same thing with toxic positivity. Look out for those people who are always happy, who look like they've not been affected by this season. We've all been affected in one way or another. So take time to unpack that and just begin to understand the impact it has had on you. Next is what we call medicating and ghosting. So you've gotten the medication, but you're hiding. You're hiding and you've run away from everyone. Please don't do that. I want us to quickly go into some statistics around mental health before we progress. 1 in 5 people in their lifetime will experience a mental health condition. So if you're a leader and you have a team of 6 people, 1 in those people will experience that. So please be aware. The same applies to your family, to your community. So it's not something that is far off. It's something close that is happening to all of us. Next, 0.01% of the national expenditure goes to mental health. Excuse me. Allow me to break that down in palatable words. Globally, each citizen is allocated 250 shillings to enable them to deal with medical health conditions. In Kenya, each citizen is given only 15 cents. That is very scary because it then means that people who need medical health care have to go and seek for it elsewhere, meaning private facilities which are too expensive that the average person is not able to afford. Out of the 284 level 4 hospitals in Kenya, only 29 of them are offering mental health services. That's very sad. We need to ensure, lobby, make more noise, prioritize this conversation so that all those hospitals are able to offer this service. Because by them not offering, it means that a percentage of 75% of people are not able to access these facilities. Next, 70% of the people going to hospitals today are going in because of mental-related conditions. That's a very high number. This is something that's affecting everyone, and it's something we cannot be silent about. We need to talk about it, break the stigma, and normalize this conversation. 41% of your employees are suffering from mental health. 51% of them are depressed, have anxiety, and have stress. And this is the saddest statistic, that 30% of them are afraid to tell anyone. HR, human resources, now needs to become human reality, where they are willing to look at the person as a human being and specifically focus on their mental. Our new normal has to make room for mental reality. We need offices that are sensitized, from senior management to the cleaner. We are talking about mental health is acceptable. They are aware of what it is. They are equipped with the tools, and they know where to get the support without being vilified, shamed, or fearing that they will lose their jobs. Next, can we normalize mental health leave? Make it a company policy. Put it in your culture.
Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Karaoke.
And suicide. Self-harm is culture, where every quarter, for starters, each employee is entitled to have at least 4 days, if not a week, time off. Don't look at your email. We don't want you to respond to anything, and let it just be self-care and mental health. Next, we need to realize that when people come back to the offices, Even now, as work is beginning, some of the things that need to be prioritized is occasionally having mental health sessions. Invite experts, let them speak to your team over and over again. There's an analogy I've been using in this season. Imagine taking a carton and you've been told to sit inside that carton. So when you're inside, you're folded and you're squeezed, and you remain there for 3 months, 4 months, a year. Eventually, the box is cut open and you're told you can now come out. As you can imagine, at first it will take you a while. You'll probably be seated in that position for a while. Then slowly you start moving a limb. Then you'll move another one. By the time you fully stand up, you'll have to remind yourself how to walk, what it felt like to move your legs, your hands, and eventually to talk. This is what we are experiencing. As people transition back to work, as the workload begins increasing and we begin going back to normal, give people time to exercise that limb. Some people were locked down with their triggers, that going to work, leaving to operate their business, going to school was their moment of sanity. When that was taken away, they were now cooped up. So imagine a ticking time bomb. Let's be sensitive. If you're in HR, if you're a leader, even when you're asking your people for work, have you done the report? Where is the email? I'm waiting on this. Let's choose our words wisely so that we don't trigger people, because we don't want to have people triggered and they shut down and they can't work anymore. So let's be sensitive. Let's give people time to adjust, and let's normalize the conversation. One other thing I would like to mention as we bring this to a close is, for the first time in history, there are 4 generations that have met each other in the marketplace. We have baby boomers, we have Gen X, we have millennials, and we have Gen Z. Now, the reason why this is important, baby boomers are from 1945 to 1964. Gen X are 1965 to 1979. Millennials are 1980 to 1995. And then Gen Z are 1996 onwards. And the reason why this is important is that each generation was cultured differently. Baby boomers and Gen Xers, baby boomers went through recession. They probably experienced the Mau Mau, and they've been through that. So stress, anxiety, panic, fear, that's nothing new to them. However, in the midst of all that, the one thing they kept being told is be busy, be active, snap out of it, don't let this get you down. And then you have Gen X. This is a generation where everything was on merit. They were always being asked, what number were you? What school are you going to be in? Who are you going to become when you grow up? They're the people who grew up raising their siblings because their parents were busy working. Those are the Gen Xers, extremely competitive. And they're the ones who are leaders in most organizations now. Then you have millennials, very tech savvy, grew up in a generation where there's a lot of technology. They are not afraid to speak their mind. Gen Xers were to be seen and not heard. They could not speak openly. They had to observe protocol. Millennials and Gen Z speak their mind. It's a social world. This is your Netflix and chill. These are guys who are used to shopping online. Like, they are always on. That's how they've been cultured. That's how they've always known. Remember Gen X and baby boomers, TV used to start at 5. They had only what? KBC, KTN, nothing. It was more community. They grew up with cousins visiting. Now here, yes, it's community with millennials and Gen Z, but the community is more online. It's not physical. So you have someone with 1 million followers, but they only have 5 friends. Gen Xers, we knew people for real. Our friends were for real. Now, you may think this doesn't make sense, or how is it relevant to mental health? It's relevant because each generation addresses mental health differently. Baby boomers and Gen Xers will keep silent. They will rarely talk about it. They will keep it undercover because to them, speaking about it and saying that I am stressed, I am depressed, I'm anxious, I don't have it figured out, I'm languishing, is synonymous to I'm a failure. I don't have any direction in my life. So if you find yourself as a caretaker, or if you're a leader in an organization where maybe the board of directors are Gen Xers and baby boomers, be sensitive to them, encourage them to talk, encourage them to open up, help them see that them saying they're not okay has no implication on their skill, on their ability, or on their identity. And if you're a millennial or Gen Z, you're a generation that gladly and openly says, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I had a panic attack. We applaud you for that. Keep at it, keep being open, and get the right help. How do you get the right help? You can either do what we call talking therapy. Find someone to talk to. It can be a therapist, it can be a psychiatrist, a psychologist, it can be a parent, it can be a significant other, it can be a pastor if you're religious. Whoever it is, get someone to talk to. Don't keep it within. Another thing that works very well is journaling. Get a journal and write. There's something about journaling which is a problem or a brain dump. That whatever is occupying your mind, whatever is stressing you, whatever is causing you to be out of sorts, out of order, when you put it on paper, it gives you clarity and you're able to see the issue better and tackle it better. So I encourage you, journal. Other simple things you can do, if you love walking, exercising, please put in exercising. There's something about you working up a sweat, working those endorphins that releases tension. So get into the habit of exercising. You don't have to do it for long. 30 minutes is all you need. Or if you're like me, my exercise is batting my eyelids quickly. Welcome to my WhatsApp group. No, but joking aside, get some exercise. Next, do something that relaxes you. And that is different for everyone. If it's cooking, prioritize cooking. If it's reading, I'm an avid reader. Read, it will help you calm down. If you love talking to people, we are being told by Ministry of Health and under the regulations, we have to social distance. That does not mean social isolation. Keep in touch, have Zoom sessions, have conversations, Skype, whatever it is, connect with people. Do not disconnect with people. Something as simple as a coloring book. I dare you to go out and buy a coloring book. It's less than 100 shillings. It's so relaxing and so therapeutic. For others, it's watching movies. Do it within reason. Don't overindulge. But whatever it is, prioritize self-care. Part of self-care is also learning to ask for help. It's also setting boundaries. Remember, not everyone deserves access to you. Some people are toxic and they don't even know it. So let them criticize who they think you are. Be very sensitive on who you allow in your circle. Next, be okay exiting certain WhatsApp groups as we had said earlier on. Another thing, be okay with saying no. You cannot be all things to all people. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And if you've ever flown, they tell you, first wear the oxygen mask before you help anyone else. Same analogy. Learn to take care of you. And at times, taking care of you means saying no. Because if you keep saying yes to everything, then you're stretched thin. You don't have time for anything. Next, learn to prioritize your self-care. And I'll repeat that. Learn to prioritize your self-care. As a leader, there's a lot on your plate, a lot of demands on you from the minute you wake up to when you lay your head to rest. In that whole itinerary, in your calendar, find blocks in your day. Don't wait until you're on leave. Find blocks in your day, and it can be 30 minutes where it's just me time, just to decompress and just to relax. A couple of weeks ago, we were shooting a documentary. It was very amazing. I was having a conversation with some of the leading actresses and actors in our country here. And they told me a phenomenon that I found so amazing. Some of them have acted such powerful characters. One of them had acted a character where she was abused. Another acted a character where she had to be an annoying person. And I was trying to understand how they get into character. So they were telling me, for some of them, they need to sit quiet, internalize a script, come into that character, and then go out and act. But then when they are done with the scene and acting for the day, they need to do what they call de-rolling. Now, de-rolling is an art of disconnecting yourself from that character. One of them told me there was a season where she was not de-rolling properly. So every time she'd go home, she would carry the character home. So the character was aggressive and harsh, and she was transferring that to her family. Some of us do not know how to de-roll. I implore you, learn how to de-roll. That when you're in the office, you are a leader, but you need to have time where you de-roll, you decompress, you remove that, and allow yourself to be you. If you're constantly operating as a leader, it means there are areas of you that are not getting the full experience of who you are. Case in point, if you're married and you go home and you're still operating as the leader, the CEO, it means your spouse, your children are denied from spending time with their father or their mother because you're coming at them as a leader. They don't need a CEO. They don't need a managing director. They just want you, daddy or mommy. So please learn how to de-roll, learn how to decompress, learn how to remove that coat and enter your next role. Because if you don't have clear demarcations, you're going to have a lot of blurred lines and it's going to begin consuming you. If you're a leader who's expected or is leading a huge global outfit, there are high expectations on you. If you don't de-roll, when you go home, the minute you walk into the house, you walk in with an attitude of, what is my wife expecting from me? What is my son expecting from me? What is my daughter expecting from me? That if they say, daddy, mommy, we just want to hang out with you and watch our cartoon with you, you're always being critical or asking, no, but we need to do. So you operate your house like mini employees, and that's causing them to be stressed out and angry and disillusioned and disgusted, to say the least. So please learn how to de-roll, to unpack, and part of de-rolling is also learning to de-roll yourself. Be okay with sitting down with yourself and going through the motions. What is causing me stress? You're like an onion. Remove that layer. Was it something Brian said in the office? Why did Susan's email annoy me so much? Begin going into the core to realize what is the actual trigger. Because if you don't get used to that, you will keep either snapping and getting irritated with your employees or your co-leaders, or you will begin operating at a place that is not you, where you're assuming a role, an identity that is not yours. So please, with these few tips and the few things we have said, this is but the beginning of a deeper conversation that I want us to keep diving into.
What an amazing session we've had with Kharay. I pray and hope that you've learned something. Please don't leave now. We're getting into a question and answer session. So in the comment section right below me or on the side or above, wherever it is for you, please head over there. Kharay is on the comment section ready to take your questions. So please don't leave just yet. So for the next 10 minutes, we'll be engaging on the chat section. We'll have some nice music going on, but the questions can be flowing in the comment section. Our facilitators will be there picking out the questions, and our guest speaker will also be answering. So let's move. Let's get the questions coming.
There you are, would you stay through the night? Through the but these are hard times. Let me skate around it, holding it in like a habit. Show up like the thunder. These things that I wonder. Would you be my lifeline? I'm yours if you be mine. Would you stay here by my side? If I felt like the world was ending, would you tell me it's alright, it's alright, it's alright? And if my mind is up in flames, would you stay with me through the night, through the night, through the night? Would you stay, would you stay? Would you stay through the night, through the night? Would you stay with me through the night, through the night, through the would you stay? Would you stay? Would you be my lifeline? I'm yours if you be mine. Would you stay?
Thank you so much for joining us today. We've come to the end of the first Power Talk of 2021. We have amazing things lined up for you. So join us next month. We'll be doing this every month. Follow our speaker Kharay on Instagram at Miss Kharay. Check out Pitstop Forum for more details about what she's doing. And also follow us if you've not liked, subscribed, hit the bell notification so that once something is up, you're able to get it. Next month, the month of August, we have some amazing things lined up for you. From the first day of the month, throughout the month, we'll be releasing some bite-sized learning. So you'll be receiving content every week, just to help you become a better leader, one video at a time. So we can't wait to take this journey with you. Thank you, God bless you, and see you next time.